Welcome everyone to the instruction video on how to set up the Pitfall Script for Zelda Classic. Before we begin, we'll need a few things. First, you'll need the Pitfall Script itself, which you can find on Zelda Classic peerzc.net. Two, you'll need the Zelda Classic game open in ZQuest with your quest loaded. And of course, a notepad editor for your code. I use Notepad++, but you can use whatever similar that you feel comfortable using. Then we'll get started. So first thing you want to do is set up your weapons that will take care of sprite animations that you see in game. To do this, all you need to do is open up Quest, head down to Graphics, Sprites, Weapons and MISC, pop it up here. This will allow you to create the various weapons that you see in game, from bombs, arrows, boomerangs, etc., etc. I already have mine set up, so we have two here. We have Drowning, which we'll be using for when Link falls in lava. So when you want to open that up, and first thing you want to do is note down the sprite number. So this one is number 95. This number is important. We'll need to use it later. Next, you want to name the sprite that you want to use. Like I said, I have mine named Drowning, which is the same as used in water, when Link drowns in water. The animation frames and speed you can set to whatever you want, and same with the graphic. Next thing you want to do is open up the sprite for falling. Again, with these ones, if you haven't set up the script before, you'll need to create them by just going down to an empty slot and hit edit, and you can create one there. So here we have Link falling, which is the sprite we'll be using for when he falls down a pit. Again, you need to mark down the sprite number. Graphic and animation lengths can be anything you want. After we're done that, we'll hit OK. Done. Next thing we're going to do is set up our sound effects, because it's pretty boring without sound effects. So all we need to do is go into Quest, Audio, Sound Effects Data, pop this up, and this here lists all the different types of sounds you'll have in your quest. So for us, we are going to go down to Ding, and again, I already have mine created, but all you need to do is find either an empty slot or an existing slot, mark down the number. Again, sound effects number 38 is the one I am using here. Name it. You'll want to load in your sound file. Always check before you hit OK to make sure the sound works. Done. And then do the same thing for falling in lava, which we have listed here as number 55. The splash, which is the same thing for falling in water and for walking on shallow water. Hit done. Done again. So that's the first part, really easy. Second part we're going to do is set up the combos. So these are the tiles that you actually place on the ground and that Link can walk over. So here I have level 2, which is the first level that we use pits in. And as you can see here, we have the Link to the Past style pits and floor with the little dark background to show that there's a floor underneath and that you just won't get hurt. And first thing we're going to do is pull it up on the side in our combo selector. And for each combo we're going to want to do, and this is just for pits, not for lava, is open up, edit the combo, set our type to whatever type of combo we want. So for our purposes, we have set it to script number 2, and the flag, the inherent flag, to 97 no ground enemies. This will prevent any enemies that walk on the ground from walking over your pit. If you don't do this, and then things like moblins or skeletons would be able to walk over your pit, and it might look a little wonky. So we'll hit OK, and we'll do the same thing for our lava. Again, we pulled up our script, our combo selector up to our lava combos. We'll edit all the lava combos that we're going to use. Lavas are different than pits, so we need to set them to a different type. So we'll set ours to script number 3. And again, we'll set the inherent flag to number 97, no ground enemies. Once you've done that for all your pits and lavas, go ahead and save your quest. And we don't need ZQuest anymore. So we'll open up our editor, our script editor, so our notepad. You'll create a new file. There we go. Then from the website, we'll pull the Pitfall code. So first thing we want to do is we need to copy all these constants over to our new file. So just go ahead and highlight them, copy, paste, plop them all down. So now we'll set up our constant combos, or constants I should say. So first things first is the constants are the ones that have const in front of them. There's ones for pits, labeled pits, and ones for lava, labeled lava. And below that we have our global variables. These ones you do not change. They're used by the script and set by the script. If you change them, then the script won't work anymore. So we'll ignore those. So first things first is we're going to set the combo type. If you remember back in the editor, we're playing with we're setting up our combos. The combo type is script 2 for pits and script 3 for lava. Now if you notice that these types don't have a number, which is handy dandy, but in reality they do actually have a number. So if you open up std constants, which is found in your Zelda Classic folder, then search up combo types, scroll down until you find the type you're using. So script 2 is what we're using for our pits. And as you'll see, the combo type is number 143. So we'll just punch that number in here. And then do the same thing for our lava, which was script 3, which is 144. After we do that, we'll move down the list. So you'll notice here that we have another constant, say pit warp, and it says flag for pit warping. So this is the flag that we'll need to put on our pits if we want them to teleport Link to another floor. It's default set to number 98, and flag number 98 is general purpose 1 scripts. And this is the flag that we'll place on top of the pits we want Link to use to fall to another floor. This will allow you to have some pits that will allow you to fall to another floor and some pits that won't. So we'll just leave that one the way it is. Next thing we're going to do is set up the weapon graphic for Link falling through the pit. If you remember that we did that before, that the weapon we set up was weapon number 90. Do the same thing for the sound effects, which was sound effect number 38. And then we can set up the damage. So the damage is only done to Link if the pit does not lead to another floor. If it teleports him to another floor, it will not hurt him. As you can see in the description here, it says damage from pits in 1/16 of a heart. So if we want to do 1 full heart of damage, you would put in 16. If you want to do half a heart, you put in 8. The default is set to half a heart. Moving down, we'll do the same setup for our lava combos. So you'll have Link Melt, which is the weapon graphic you set up earlier for when Link melts in lava, and that was combo number 95. Same for the melting sound, which is sound effects number 55. Then we'll tell the game how much damage we want him to do. In this case, it's default set to 1 heart. Okay. After we do that, now we'll need to set up our global loop. So our global loop is handled in game that runs every frame, and every time it does every frame, it'll do whatever is listed here. Setting one up is quite easy. All you need to do is type in global script active. This tells the game that the global script we want is the active one, so it'll always run while the player is playing. There are actually multiple global scripts. One active will run every frame while you're playing the game. There's an init, which will run 1 frame when you start the game. And then there is also an exit, which will run when you save and quit, or you die. Next, we need to tell it to put in our run function. Make sure to put in your brackets, always important. Then we need to put in our loop. The loop is important. If you don't put in the while true loop, the game will only run it once and never return. And we want it to run every frame, so we need to put in the loop. Okay. Once we do that, we'll put in our wait draw function. This is a function built into Zelda Classic that essentially tells the game to wait to draw to the screen, and everything you put before wait draw will be done first, wait draw, which will then draw the screen, and then everything after will happen after the screen has been drawn. This is good if you need things to update before the player can see it. Even if you don't use it, it is a good idea to place it in your code. And I always mark it nice and bright so I can see where it is. Oh. But then of course, after that, we want our wait frame. This will tell the game that I'm done here, and you can go on and do whatever else you need to do until the next frame. Okay, so now we have our global script all set up. Now we need to add our pitfall to it. So first thing we're going to do is going to open up our pitfall code we got from the site, and we are going to highlight from here all the way down. Grab all of it, copy, and we're going to want to paste it into our code after our global loop. As you can see, I've already added in a line that separates it so it's easy to read. and our code would be listed here. And this is everything that the code needs to do. We're not going to touch any of this. We don't need to. Before we go any further though, we are going to set up our PF drawing. PF drawing is a function added into Pitfall that makes the script continually draw whatever else you need drawn while the script is running. Okay, so if you're using something like Ghost, for example, then you would need to add in the Ghost draw function in here. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to assume you're using anything else, and Pitfall is the only thing you're using. So we're just going to leave this as it is. After we do that, Pitfall needs to be added to your global loop so it'll actually run. In order to do that, all you need to do is grab the function name, Pitfall. Don't forget your brackets and your semicolon. And there we go. Now Pitfall is added to your global loop. In every frame, the game will come across Pitfall and check its conditions to make sure if Link is currently burning up, falling down, being moved to another screen, etc., etc. Okay. After you're done that, go ahead and save as whatever you want. Next thing I recommend doing is, in order to make running code, lots of code, as you can see, if you build a big quest, you can get lots and lots of code, and it can get quite confusing quite quickly. So what I would recommend doing is opening up another file. And inside this file will be like a main file. So this is where you would import all your different types of files that you're using in your quest. Of course, the most important thing we need to do is import our libraries. And our libraries for Pitfall, we are using std.zh, which comes with Zelda Classic, and we are using std extra, which I do not believe comes with Zelda Classic, but is on the database at pure ZH, or ZC, sorry. Once we have imported our libraries that we'll be using, we need to import our global. So in order to do that, you just type in import, just like you did for the libraries. Place down your two things there, and type in whatever the file name you saved your global under. This would be the file name that you saved as. Once you're done that, save it as whatever you want. I saved mine as main.z. It's important to have the .z instead of .zh. Once you're done that, we can get rid of that. Go back to our quest. We go to quest drop-down menu, all the way down to scripts, compile. You want to hit import. It'll ask if you want to proceed anyway, because it'll clear out the buffer. You want to hit yes. You want to find your import folder or file that you created. select it, hit OK. Once you do that, it'll compile it into your buffer. Then you just hit compile. It'll run it through a series of checks. If there's any errors, I'll let you know, but it should all be okay. Once you do that, you can then assign it to a slot. And unfortunately, I do not have you have to bear with me for 2 seconds. There we go. So we'll compile that, import, find our main file. Here we go, compile. See, it's checking it for errors. No errors, success. Click our button. Now this is where we can assign all our scripts to particular slots. If they're FFCs, global, which is the one we want this time. We go down to active, which is the one that runs every frame. And then we find our master, our active global script that we saved. In this case, mine's named master scripts because it's the one that runs every frame no matter what. It's a little arrow to move it over into active. You'll see that it'll say active, the name of the file. We're all good. Hit OK. I'll tell you that the Z scripts have successfully loaded into the script slots. If there's an error here, then you're in trouble, but it should always work. Hit OK. And we are done with setting up our scripts. Now all we need to do is just place our combos on screen as such for pits and for lava if you have lava as well. And then last but not least, if we wanted to make these scripts or these pits fall to another floor, what we'll need to do is place down our flag, which was number 98, general purpose one. Okay, place them on top of the pits that we want them to use. Then we want to go to screen, side warp, side warp D, which is used by the script to tell where we're sending Link when he falls down these pits. Set it to the type we want. Mine's set to insta warp. You always want insta warp, but it has an opening wipe. As you can see, there's lots of different types. You can have blackout, zap effects, wave effects. It's your choice, really. Tell it which DMAP you want it to go to, and what screen on that DMAP you want to send it to. You can set it if you want combos to carry over or not. In this case, you do not. Then you can use warp return. This will tell the game what warp do you want it to use for where you want it to place Link. This actually doesn't matter for this script, so you can actually ignore this. And same with triggers, you can ignore that as well. Okay. Once you got that all set up, you can either hit OK, or what I recommend doing is hitting Go, which will move you to the screen where Link should be moved to. Once you got that set up, go ahead and save your quest. Next thing you always want to do is test request. Bring it up in Zelda Classic. For mine, I'll enter my super secret cheat. Then we want to head over to one of our combos, and if I can remember what screen we're supposed to go to. Then we'll head over to our pits. And if this works properly, we should fall down the pit and land or fall into the next screen in the same location we fell down our pit. So that worked. And because we are thorough testers and try not to be eaten, we are going to do it again, but this time in a different location. You're going to see, yep, we ended up in a different location. So that's all there is for this setup. And if you have any other further questions or concerns on how to set up Pitfall, go ahead and post a thread in the Pure ZC forums, and I'll be happy to help you.